Konnichiwa. This is Israel Lopez, Sensei of the Martial Maze. When we discuss the martial sciences, what often gets lost in the discussion is that martial arts isn't just taught through movement, it's taught through language. Through the words we choose, the respect we show, and the discipline to speak with intention. Long before a technique is tested, character is revealed in the conversation, in writing, and in silence. Inside the maze, we learn that honesty builds trust, loyalty builds community, and respect, earned and given, becomes a daily practice. Our speech sharpens not to cut others down, but to clarify truth. Our words carry weight because we're trained to stand behind them. This discipline doesn't end on the mat. It follows us into how we communicate, how we represent ourselves, and how we move through the world. With this in mind, I would like to close out the Martial Art of Speech series with two very special guests. She is commonly known as the Queen of SWAM SIDAGOO, Dr. Odette Russell, and her student, Mrs Crystal Banton. Together, they have something inspirational and downright amazing to share. You're listening to the Martial Maze Martial Arts Podcast. Let's step on in. Konnichiwa, ma'am. Welcome back on the show.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Let me tell you, and honored, especially because I have a product that's amazing and has the ability to change lives. So let me just real quick tell you a little bit about myself. As you know, I'm SIDAGOO, also known as Dr. Odette Russell. I am one of the Grand Masters of SWAM Martial Arts Academy that was founded in 1977 by my husband, Sijo Abdul Mutakabir. I've trained martial arts. I'm going on 47 years, and I've taught martial arts over 35 years, I think closer to 40. In 1998, I started a female division of SWAM. I only train females, mostly from the age of tween. If you want to know what a tween is 11, 12-year-olds until the age of silver sneakers. My oldest student's 73 years old. She's actually one of my prominent black belts, and she's been with me for over 20 years. But then Sisters Warriors Against Madness, I get the opportunity to travel the world and help women get through hiccups and learn how to defend themselves, how to avoid putting themselves into situation, how to build environmental awareness, and so on. By 2018, I got my PhD in health psychology. That was my fourth degree. And I utilized the information that I acquired from that degree into my training and teaching my women how to navigate through hiccups, how to build through past traumas. Of course, it's not clinical, so I don't diagnose, but I just help them through emotional wellness and all that stuff. By 2025, we decided to enter into a larger, I should say a younger population. It's funny because 80% of the stories I've heard, and I've heard probably almost every horror story that has occurred towards women, 80% happened to these women when they were children, before they were 7 years old. And so we decided to build on the elementary level age group, which we call the Mini Lioness. And let me tell you, these warriors roar louder than any other students that I've worked with. And this was amazing. And through the lessons plans that we created and through the teaching, created this amazing book called I Am SWAM Mini Lioness, Hear My Roar. Now, if you know, I am not here alone. There's a beautiful, faithful, amazing young lady also here with me now. She's put in about 5 years in training under me in the Sisters Warriors Against Madness. She's also one of the assistant instructors with the Mini Lioness. And whenever her time is to teach, the kids be like, yes, Miss Crystal's going to teach. How she demonstrates her lessons. It's not just educational, it's not just informative, it's also fun. And they enjoy her lessons. But also, what she's a part, and the reason why she's here is she's the co-author of this amazing children's book. So let me just shut up and hand over to Miss Crystal Banton because she is. I just want y'all to hear her background because it's amazing as well.
All right, konnichiwa, Crystal, and welcome on to the Marshall Maze. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself. I feel like Sidagu gave you a great intro, but let's do it.
I feel like the red carpet was just rolled out. So thank you so much, Izzy, for having us on. Of course, Sidagu, peace be unto you. And thank you so much for that warm introduction. Of course, a little bit about me. Of course, I'm not new to martial arts. Fortunately, I've had a beautiful history of learning the arts and being able to train under some amazing instructors who just given me a beautiful palette to paint with because it is an art, right? So I started back in Kempo, training under Scott and Stacy Condor. They're fifth generation Kempo instructors. I met the beautiful Lila Vest, who was one of their black belts, one of my instructors who introduced me to the precepts of the practitioner. And I think that's where I really fell in love with martial arts, not just in terms of a self-defense tool, which, as Sidagu explained, is very, very relevant to our lives today. But it really put me on that journey to understand the true potential of martial arts beyond self-defense to just building a life and a character and really experiencing all that there is to gain from martial arts. I moved on to train with also Master Urban Sho, Sanukasuru Jiu-Jitsu. He is like a father to me, a mentor, an amazing, amazing friend. So a blessing to grow in that regard as well. I moved on also. I trained under Sensei Theodore Ardianalnu. And forget me, Sensei, I'm talking a little fast, so I may have messed up your name a little bit. But he is the founder of the Key Train method. So under his system, I am a disciple in Tai Chi, Bagua, Qigong, and Aikido. I also had the joy of training Krav Maga, experiencing other systems like Capoeira, and in the past 5 years, most recently, in addition to that, training with the beautiful, lethal mother of SWAM, Sidagu herself. And she has just been, in many ways, I think, the missing piece of bringing all these colors together, where I'm now, I think, understanding what it means to truly embrace being a female martial artist, where there's no compromise in the quality of the art, but there is, I think, a beauty in the femininity and I think elements that we're able to explore that maybe our martial arts brothers may not be able to. So it's just been another dimension to my training, another beautiful set of skills. And as we get into the book that we've created and the system with the SWAM Mini Lionesses, that legacy of change and making a difference and an impact in a positive way as true martial artists. So thank you for having us on.
For those that are fans of the show, you know we did 2 episodes before this one on speech as a martial art, or the martial art of speech, and then we did Speech Revisited with Barakulat Shidoshi. And it's one of those things that we always forget, that the written word and spoken word can be weaponized. We are seeing it now more in our politics than anything else, and we see it in our day-to-day lives. I think the episode I did with Barakulat Shidoshi was called F Around and Find Out. Well, because I mean, that's the truth of it, right? You run in your mouth and something may happen to you. But the one thing we didn't do in both those episodes, which is why I was really excited well, for one, when Sidagu gave me a phone call and talked to me about this book we're going to discuss. And then I said, okay, so send me the book. And we talked a little bit about it. And I was like, wow, man, this is awesome. And this would really work into covering the good side of speech, right? And because we talked all about the combative weaponization of it, but all these other good things that come from the martial sciences and how martial arts has kind of evolved from not just being about combatives, but whether or not you're a good person, right? And all those things, not just punching somebody's lights out, but maybe we don't have to do all of that. Maybe I can just be a good person and I never, put myself in that position. Case in point, good self-protection is living your life in such a way where violence misses you, where self-defense is the intervention. So, well, maybe we don't need the intervention if I can have all these best practices. And it starts from the ground up, right? How we were raised, right? So I'm really excited to have you guys on. So let's just jump into this because you guys are closing out the speech for us. So we're going to end on a high note. And what better way to end on a high note is to talk about this great book. So this was co-authored between the both of you.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. So, just what inspired you to do this book? Let's talk about that.
Well, if I could address the power of words, the power of words have energy. And it actually has the power to do one of two things: to open opportunities or to close doors. And that is the way, because your words are coming from your thoughts. And through those words, create habits. And it's just, you just want to be careful how you refer to yourself and how do you refer to others, because there's more power than you think. Now, to answer your question, the inspiration of this book stemmed from replicating the class, but I didn't want to replicate the whole class. We wanted to focus on an important aspect of the class, which was character building. And this is what these power words do. Before we start each class, we would have a child pick a power word and we would write it out and have it put it taped on their guitar. And that word stuck with them through the whole class. They would have to recite the class, like, my name is so and so, and I am respectful to myself, or my name is so and so, and I am brave. Now, we're talking about 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 10-year-olds that are mimicking positive affirmations to themselves. Okay. So along with the kicking and the punching and the katas and the calisthenics, through the power word, we was building tenacity. They were sitting longer in their stances, deeper in their stances. They realized that not all things are easy, but that doesn't mean that they need to give up. We were teaching accountability. Okay. We gave them the ability to speak their truth with strength and confidence. We were building their courage through self talk. We were also building a very important tool called self worth. And that was especially among the word of loyal and respectful. I think you liked respectful, because when you think of loyal and respectful, you think of how to be loyal to someone else, how to be respectful to someone else. And here we were also teaching them they need to be respectful and loyal to themselves, not to compromise, not to settle, which is something we need to grow to learn as well. Be the child that is not influenced with peer pressure, but be the child with that clear judgment that could talk even their friends to make smarter decisions. That was the point of this. And we were doing such an amazing job and seeing changes with these children right away, that Crystal said, hey, it wasn't me. Crystal came to me, we need to write the book.
All right. So, Crystal, talk to us about it.
I see to go. She's a very humble, I think, and or maybe because we don't have enough time and going over, I think, the depth and the breadth of this training program for the mini lionesses. So we took a holistic approach to self-defense for at the elementary level, where of course we had to make sure these concepts were easy enough for students to understand. But man, there was so much more to it in terms of we had elements including self awareness, safe spaces, safe individuals. The goal here was to make sure that our kids were equipped to stay safe without introducing traumas. And so this was the foundation of, I think, all we went through in the system, whether teaching them facial recognition, teaching them spatial awareness, emotional awareness, where they are not just equipped, like we said, to kick and punch, but they can observe a situation. They're aware, able to check on their internal systems, like what am I feeling right now? What is going on? Am I safe? Am I not safe? How do I reach out for help? How do I respond appropriately, even if I don't have the vocabulary to explain what I'm feeling right now? And so as we went through the system of building the mini lionesses, I think one of the things that came about, like Sidagoo said, was the impact it was having. Within the space of a month, these young ladies, they had, and some of them they walked in shy. Some of them they had issues even making eye contact. And we understand the psychology, even of just being able to look a person in the eye when you meet them, to stand tall and to know that you are in a safe space and you are worthy, you are worthwhile. And so when we start to see all these ripple effects, it didn't just stop with the children, but even with us as instructors, what we found that there was healing as we went through even the power words and what they meant. And we realized that for us as adults, not just having a responsibility of teaching kids, but healing ourselves so that we're not passing on traumas as we are masking traumas as self-defense. or creating traumas in the way that we train the younger generation. And so the power word was a very effective tool because it was a way that allowed us to teach some of those lessons and empower them without having to put them through stressful situations and scenarios, but it was still effective. And that translated in their trainings, in how they did their katas, in how they spoke up, even as they introduced themselves, in emotional and spatial awareness and recall. So what Sidagu probably hasn't gotten a chance to mention too is that we gamify a lot of it. And it's not about, taking away the importance of it, but engaging them in a fun way. And so one of the things that we do when we're teaching, for example, facial recognition, when something happens, it is a helpful skill to be able to describe who it was and, and where they went. And so for a lot of people psychologically, it's not unnatural that you'll have 10 people describe the same perp differently. And it's just a natural reaction. In a stress situation, your brain might just block out certain information, and it doesn't necessarily help you the best when you're trying to explain what's going on. And so imagine a child in an unsafe situation, or they observed something and they want to get help, but they don't even know how to describe who it was or what it did. So what we did is we created games where within, I think, under a minute, right, they were able to accurately look at a picture, look at an individual. They could label the eye color, the shape of the eye. They could describe the face. And it was not introducing trauma. They don't go around saying, oh, that's a bad person or that's a good person. It's just another person. It's just another eye, and it's blue or brown. But they're able to see people in a way that it helps with their development. It helps with effective self-defense, but without the trauma, and they can still be kids and be innocent and practice safe behaviors. So that's just one little aspect of this amazing system.
I love that you, in formulating this, really were really good about not introducing trauma. I find that typically always gets in the way, or more importantly, even when we assign gender to the villain. And then it starts to train a mind. Remember, right? We're all training for the dude who with the hoodie on. Well, I'm wearing a hoodie, but y'all can't really see it. But hoodie on, folks. I forgot y'all can see me, but the people listening can't see me. But I'm wearing a hoodie. I love hoodies. But yeah, they're training for the big dude with the hoodie in the corner, and not realizing that domestically it's more likely somebody you're going to know, and again, you don't want to introduce that kind of trauma, because now introducing that trauma would have them looking at their family members or connections, their social connections, in a certain kind of way. So I think that is great that you guys took very care. I love that. It is groundbreaking, because even in my program where I'm lecturing all over, I've never thought about that. Like that, that's it. You guys are blowing my mind right now. I've never thought about, because I do in the middle of teaching this course, I'm almost always introducing the trauma. So I think that's really cool.
Which is why I'm excited, because in addition to the book, Sidagu has so graciously agreed to create an instructor manual. And so that will go into more detail about the other elements of the system, how to effectively use the book and the power words to make sure that, the kids and families are getting the most out of it, how to teach these elements, and what else. There's some of these things are groundbreaking that we've probably never experienced themselves.
After the episode, I'm definitely gonna have to tap into that a little bit more, because we like to refine it. So
Easy, and we need to get you on board with a training manual, the instructor manual, once it's up, because that's the great thing about it, where it's not just for kids, as you can see. Even with adults, like you mentioned, there are things that you probably never thought of. You recognize that maybe I am introducing trauma here, but in terms of how do I do what I need to do effectively, how do I prepare, those that I'm entrusted with effectively without introducing the trauma. And so that's a formula, I think, that Sidagu and I are really dedicated to perfecting and sharing.
that is awesome. That is great to
It
hear.
is quite difficult not to have some little trauma, because you are telling a child I know for me, when I go places with my grandchildren are trained. As soon as they get out of the car, they grab my shirt. And this is one of the techniques we teach in our classes. When you get out of the car, if you can't grab someone's hand, that safe person, you grab their shirt, you grab their back pocket. I need predators to see when my children get out the car, they're well behaved. They're not running aimlessly all over the place. They are staying close to that safe person. Now, the instructor's manual will more be geared to educators, teachers, dojo instructors, and mentors, and teaching them to be a better safe person. 95% of children that are molested knows they're attackers, and that's because unfortunately parents are putting them in harm without knowing that. And I've had situations where children will say, I was with this person because my mother knows them, my father knows them, and I thought they were a good person. So along with what Crystal's doing and recognizing features, we're also teaching them how to recognize unsafe people as well as safe people. How do you recognize an unsafe person? Does it make you feel small? Do they make you feel uncomfortable? Do they make you feel creepy? Does your spider senses go off of this isn't a good feel? Recognizing unsafe touches. Yes, we go into body private parts and we use technical names. We're teaching them to use the vagina, the breast, use these technical names. Yes, at 4 years old. But with that, if I'm a safe person and I'm touching her arm, how do you think that makes her feel at 4? It makes her feel fine. But if she doesn't see me as a safe person and I'm touching her arm, that's an uncomfortable feeling. I want her to know that her voice has value. I'm talking about this 4-year-old. And she can say, please stop. That makes me uncomfortable.
I grew up obviously in the generation of you had to hug and kiss, family
Yep.
members and stuff like that. I didn't raise my children that way. I raised them to understand that it's their body, their choice, and meaning that if they want to give their aunt or uncle a hug, they can. And if they don't want to, if it makes them uncomfortable, then don't. You don't need to. And so I love that. I love that you're touching base on that.
Usually we give doctors carte blanche, but what Crystal did was an eye opener for me. Go ahead.
So yeah, thank you, Sidagoo. And I think the situation that Sidagoo is referring to is an experience that I had during a doctor's visit, and I was able to share that with the group in a way that empowered us as parents also to give our children permission to say that, to pause, or to say, I'm not comfortable. And in this case, it had to do with a doctor's exam, a physical exam. And this young lady, my daughter, she was just not comfortable with getting undressed in front of this doctor. And so there was a sense of pressure there because this is a doctor, this is an exam. But in that moment, I had a responsibility as a parent to stand by what I was trying to teach my child, where it doesn't matter who it is. If you are uncomfortable, you have the right not to get undressed. You have the right to say, I don't like this. And as individuals, I think that's a part of, as adults or caregivers or mentors or instructors, right? I think this is a big part of what we're teaching here, where we have to make sure that our actions are aligning with the lessons we're trying to teach. We're not taking away the power or silencing our kids. And like Sidagoo says, with all these statistics, majority of the time, children are actually hurt by individuals that their parents know and trust, that they have authority, or maybe what they're doing seems justified, but the child is just not comfortable and they have lost what they feel like, or maybe they've lost their voice in saying, I don't want this individual to do this. Who will protect me? Who will defend me? Is it going to be okay if I say no?
Predator doesn't just groom the child. The predator grooms the family and sometimes the whole community. And this is why there were priests that were violating, children that were attended churches. And these children couldn't say anything because the community looked up to this person that was a monster to children. And and so we're letting these children know, as well as the parents. This is what the manual's about. Parents, we've got to be more alert and aware of who we have around our children. We can't ignore the vibes. We also got to read if our child's energy changes. Why is it changing?
Well, that's one of the things that we 100% MacDojo Life. They're really good in even in our universe in the martial arts. Where I don't know if you're a fan of his show or not, but if you're not, you should be. He ousts individuals of that ilk, molesters in the
Mm-hmm.
martial community, people that have actually been known to, I mean, if you're a female growing up in the 80s and training martial arts, there were plenty of horror stories. It is really important that we support and that we throw a lot of shine to individuals like yourself and like MacDojo Life. I love the energy, love what we're doing, but we're going to circle back to the book. So again, so we talked about what inspired you guys to do the book. And so who are the individuals who are meeting the book? So these are all students that take classes, yes?
Yes, these are the mini lioness themselves, and they had the opportunity to pick the word that they felt best represented them, even though they followed the law and the rules of every word.
Okay, that's what I was going to get into. I did notice that they had their name, had the thing they had right there. Then it kind of gives a little spot for the individual who has the book. No spoilers, folks. Y'all just got to get the book.
It's interactive, so that it's a book geared for their friends, and their friends is other children that they haven't met. The friends is for the children their age that they want to share this information. They liked how they grew. One child talked about how she suffers, she has learning disability and that she's terrified every time she comes to class, but she picked the word brave.
It's a great way of showing how they live out these words. So it's not just the word that they pick because they like how it sounds, but they really do live it out. And so this book is like a lesson from them, like what they've learned that they're sharing with their friends and their families. And as you read it, you'll see that they give their own personal situations and stories of how they have overcome, of how they are pushing forward, of how they're championing these words. And I feel like it's just encouraging and life changing. It definitely has been for me throughout the process.
And of course, we're making sure that us as adults, we're living in these best practices, correct?
Yes, we need reminders. We need reminders. And this is
I think more than ever, we need reminders.
I was really, well, and I wrote it, but I was really taken by Respectful. That was one that really resonated with me.
But me too. But
Yeah, and powerful. And I think Crystal, yours was loyalty, right?
Loyalty. I remember we were going through the definition SIDAGOO, the breakdown. This was actually during class.
Yeah.
And I remember getting to that section about being loyal to yourself. And I was like, I'm not sure I understand what that means. Like we grew up in a culture where we're taught to be respectful and to have courage and to keep your word and to be a good friend and be a good wife and good mother. And it's like, but what about, your needs? If you are not being a good friend to yourself, then maybe we need to pause for a minute. And so that was a moment of truth for me where you're not just teaching these kids these lessons, but am I really living this out? Have I been showing up for myself? Have I been eating right and or exercising? Am I skipping training because I'm prioritizing something else? Showing up for myself is as important. And so these lessons, they're not just for kids, and the feedback we've been getting, Sidagu, is just phenomenal of so many adults who are saying, man, I read that word and I had to pause for a minute and think like, wow, I can do better.
The feedback we're getting, and we're getting it from, because it says I am a SWAM Mini Lioness, but we have dojos who don't care about, they're okay with supporting what we're doing because of the message behind it. They're like, yes, we support what SWAM is doing because we want our children in our dojo to build off of these power words. It's about accountability. It's about character. That is the power of words.
Think it's really important that we practice what we preach. Kids typically learn from watching, not so much as what I say, it's what I do. We go into dojos, they have the coon on the wall, respect, honor, loyalty, and that is not what's happening in the dojo. That is
Exactly.
not the culture they're cultivating in the dojo. They're there and they're great talking points, but you're not living that. You know what
But
I
some
mean?
of them don't know how to teach that. And
Mm.
that's what the book is designed to
Well,
do.
that's the one thing I was digging was that,
So,
yes,
a template on how to do it. Period.
I love that. I think that's awesome. Yes, yes, and I'm very thankful that I'm actually thankful because I know you. I got it before a lot of people got it, so I'm feeling blessed.
You love, okay.
Yeah, I was like,
But I
thank.
also want to say, if anything, take this message. Can we raise children with no childhood traumas? Can we start now?
I love
That's
that. All right, so ladies, it was great having you guys on the show again. The book, You got to get it. SWAM, Mini Lionesses. What's up? You got no excuse, y'all. You heard it first on the Marshall Maze. And we got to close on a high note, too. I mean, I felt like we were such in a dark place with speech. And now to see that when we're thinking about this, ladies and gentlemen, we can do it from the ground up, right? We can start them when they're young so that they're not, I mean, the whole point of being a parent is so that when your kids come up, you can make up for all the mistakes that you might have thought happened when you were a kid. And this is one of them, right? We're going to change behavior. We're going to change some best practices. We're going to come up with better best practices because it's all about being better, right? And I love that. So I want to thank you both for being on the show. Dr. Odette Russell, SIDAGOO. Crystal, you're not a sensei yet, so we can't say Crystal Sensei, but you are an author. You're a published author. What's up? Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been an honor. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, thank you. And with that being said, I'm without my partner in crime, Barakulad Shidoshi. I'm Israel Lopez Sensei, and you've been listening to The Marshall Maze. For more information about this episode, feel free to reach out to us at www.marshallmaze.com. That's www.marshallmaze.com.